VTuber models can recreate your facial expressions in real time using what's called ARKit face tracking. Your facial expressions are captured using the iPhone's infrared camera and converted into driving parameters that control the 52 blend shapes. The blend shapes are partial emotes that can be combined to recreate your face pose on a virtual model in real time. This guide primarily focuses on the anime style of 3D models, but the techniques discussed will work for all styles. In this lesson, I will show what each blend shape does and how they relate to each other. I'm not going to go through the install steps for getting Face Motion 3D for Blender, but it's incredibly helpful when developing, so I highly recommend you get it. For the mouth blend shapes, the most important one to start out with is jawOpen. The reason for this is every point where the mouth is open, every blend shape will be based off of this blend shape. You don't necessarily have to use an O shape for the mouth, but it's highly recommended. For jawOpen, you can sort of think of it like opening your mouth as much as you can while keeping your lips loose. A good rule of thumb is to have the lips rest on the tips of the teeth. Other blend shapes will be mixed in later to expose more of the mouth and teeth. For anime style models, you don't necessarily want the jaw to open fully like it would for a normal person. Since anime mouths don't usually move their jaws too much, I recommend moving the jaw a bit and then moving the teeth within a lot more. For the mouth closed blend shape, you can think of it sort of for creating a chewing motion when combined with the jaw open blend shape, which you can see here. An easy way to make this is applying a vertex group like this to the jawOpen blend shape and tweaking it a bit. When you originally create the first version of your mouse closed blend shape, make sure it's relative to jawOpen because that's how the software will interpret it. Once you have it the way you'd like it, you need to apply it so it'll look like this from base. When you're creating these blend shapes, I highly recommend you just make them as the combined blend shape and then split them up with the different gradients that I'll show throughout this lesson. Otherwise, it'll be a lot harder to make them coherent. The next set of blend shapes I'm going to show you primarily focus on stretching the lips from neutral positions. One set will stretch the lips up and down, and the other will stretch the corners of the mouth outward. This next group of blend shapes is what people have the most trouble with when they're starting out, and that's the mouth upperUp left, mouth upperUp right, mouth lowerDown left, mouth lowerDown right. If you just look at the documentation, you sort of get an idea for how it's supposed to be used, but it's a lot better to sort of create it as one big blend shape and then split it up. The way these blend shapes should be thought of is sort of exposing the teeth. And you're not stretching out the mouth in all directions. You're just trying to raise the upper lip up and lower the bottom lip down. You're going to want to make sure that this looks good both with the jaw open and the jaw closed. You can see that in this example, after I apply these different gradients, it comes out with these different split up blend shapes, which look just like the documentation. The mouthStretch blend shapes are used to widen the mouth by stretching the corners of the mouth outwards, so it would create like a bigger smile or show more of the inner mouth when you open the jaw. The next set I'm going to cover is smile and frown. They're pretty much the same, but inverted versions of each other, where you take the corner of the mouth and lift it up or down to create whichever one you're looking for. You're going to want to make sure that this looks good both with the mouth closed, the teeth exposed, and the jaw open. This won't always look great in all those different states, but this is an area where I personally would use corrective blend shapes, but I'll be covering that more in other videos. Mouth left and mouth right is pretty standard. It's just moving the lips left or right across the teeth. One thing to check for with this is make sure that not only do you check that with the mouth closed, but also with the jaw open, because sometimes the teeth could clip through in weird areas. Press left and press right is used mostly in conjunction with the mouth left and right blend shapes. It just takes a corner of the mouth and raises it up a bit just to make more of a curved look. These next two blend shapes are primarily for speaking portions of the face tracking. Pucker is where the lips are pushed together and pushed forwards a little bit. Funnel is where the mouth makes this funnel shape. MouthRoll is just where the lips roll inwards. Now, that's not used very often by most anime characters, so I find a good use for this is just compressing the lips a little bit. MouthShrug is essentially if you try and take your lips and touch the bottom of your nose with them. Often when it's triggered, it'll also be triggered with the frown and pucker, so make sure that looks good together. Since anime characters don't really move their jaws that much in general, I personally don't use the jaw left, right, or forward blend shapes, but it's pretty straightforward. So if you do want to use it, just move your jawbone around a bit and save those blend shapes. An alternative use for this, if you're not going to use it, is you can actually use this as a way to control the tongue. So for example, you could have the tongue move to the left or right when the jaw left or right blend shapes are triggered. Since you're not going to use them anyways, it's a nice way of puppeting that. MouthDimple also isn't really used that much for anime characters just because you don't have that fine detail like you do with a more human-looking model. An easy way to handle this is just take the corner of the mouth and pull it outwards a little bit and backwards a little bit, and it'll look fine. Unfortunately, the tongue tracking that comes with the 52 blend shapes is really bare bones. It's just tongue out or tongues not out. I find that you're really going to want to mess with corrective blend shapes if you want to make the tongue look a lot better. cheekPuff is a fun one to use. It's just blowing up the cheeks and scrunching in the mouth a little bit. There are other things you can do too, but it's pretty much your choice. Next, we'll be covering the eyeBlendShapes. Blink is pretty straightforward. Just take the eyelid, bring it down to the bottom, pretty standard. Nice little extra tip is if you dilate and contract the eye while you blink, it'll actually make it look a lot nicer. The squint is mostly played in combination with the blink. Since the standard blink just brings down the top eyelid mostly, there wouldn't be a point where the bottom eyelid is also raised to get that squinting motion. That's why in the documentation, the squint is just the bottom eyelid raised all unnaturally. They're just played in combination to get that squint effect. Eyelook in, out, up, and down all follow the same sort of principle. You just want to move the eyelid a little bit as the eyeball moves just to give that little bit of accentuated movement. EyeWide is pretty straightforward. You raise the top eyelid, lower the bottom one, and it makes a more surprised expression. Next up, we'll go over the eyebrows. browInnerUp is just raising the eyebrows. browOuterUp is a way of flattening the eyebrows from the original InnerUp blend shape. browDown is similar to InnerUp, but it's left and right lowering of the eyebrows. You can either lower them neutrally, or you can create a sort of angry expression. Both work. I personally like to use nose sneer as the angry eyebrow expression. It's just a nicer way to emote that a little bit better. You're going to find that in most cases when you're tracking, both the eyebrows are just going to be mirrors of each other and you can't really get a left and right going. You can't really do much about that. There are certain ways you can affect that, but it's mostly from using other blend shapes like nose sneer or things like that. Now, emoting is really important for VTubers, and you want to make your models seem as alive as possible. A really nice way to emphasize this is by connecting the eyebrow and the eye blend shapes. Now, you can either do this with correctives or by adjusting the defaults, but it's just things like as the eyelid raises, you can raise the eyebrow and vice versa, and it just makes your model look a lot more expressive. Now, corrective blend shapes are extra shape keys you create that aren't part of the 52 that you will run using an external program, something like Warudo that supports it, where it's an extra blend shape that you trigger when you're running 2 or more shape keys that you use to sort of correct or just like enhance certain combinations. A couple shout outs for people who were really helpful when I was learning. First up, we had Mads. They have this reference head available with their whole process. It's a really good way to figure out the different blend shapes and learn. Kana has some great tutorials as well on getting used to the blend shapes. Not only that, anything Warudo and a lot of other topics. She has tons of tutorials. You should check her out. Mao also sent out some very helpful tweets with little information that really helped me ramp up when I was learning.